My name is Pelman. I'm on the board of Genome BC, and it's my pleasure this morning, given me this very onerous task, but it is a pleasure to welcome everyone here. I'm quite sure that many of you, and probably even most of you, have been to one of these events before, the previous Winter Symposium. It is an annual event. Hopefully there are some new faces here today, and you in the future can become those who come back again because it's so good. Today you've seen the agenda. You have the information in front of you in terms of how the day is going to go, and so please obviously feel free to look through that. We have what we think is really quite an interesting agenda today. A little bit different approach. We're looking at, presenting and having an opportunity to discuss activities through the whole range of the research continuum in genomics. All the way from, obviously, from the basic research, which was the lifeblood, the original lifeblood of Genome BC, and most genomics work. And there we're going to look a little bit and discuss a little bit about fisheries, including the Atlantic salmon genome, and understanding the health of the Pacific salmon. Also going to look at applied research, moving down the spectrum, a little bit more challenging to do in terms of focusing the work in areas where we feel there's going to be some very useful outcomes. And there we're going to look from a public health perspective in some work done with CHIR. And we're also going to have some discussion and presentations around translational research. Really the more difficult end of the spectrum, where we try and take this knowledge, both the basic and the applied, and find ways to have it actually introduced into our lives in a meaningful way. And there, the lens today is going to be through forestry and environment. In addition to presentations, which is the mainstay of these sorts of symposia, we're also going to have some panel discussions today, where we've brought in other scientists and knowledgeable people in the field, particularly at the end user end, to engage hopefully the whole group after the particular presentations. So we look forward to you being engaged, to ask questions, to draw out from the panel what they think about the particular topics, and hopefully to get some of your thoughts on that too. Also, I'd like to welcome Cindy Bell, who's here today in the front row here, from Genome Canada. Cindy's doing the keynote address and will be introduced a little bit later. I just really wanted to acknowledge the relationship, actually the exceptional relationship we have with Genome Canada and Genome BC, as well as with the other genome centers across the country. Pierre Moulin, our previous CSO, is now the president and CEO of Genome Canada. He is an observer on our board. And Alan Winter, our president and CEO from Genome BC, also does the same at the Genome Canada end. So we, in addition to those opportunities, obviously we have lots of chance to interact with her. So Cindy will get you in a few moments. The person really responsible for today and who is going to keep you hopefully in line is Brad Popovich, the Chief Scientific Officer at Genome BC. Brad, I'm sure, is well known to all of you, if not most of you, if not all of you, has been on the Genome BC board previous to taking on the CSO role, and headed up one of the genome, let's say, the challenging genome activity in the area here. The tough task of taking what we know about genomes and trying to turn it into success that we can all benefit from. So I think that's all I'm going to do before I turn it over to Brad. Brad is going to start us off with some interesting and hopefully exciting news from Genome BC and introduce the rest of the day for you. And as I said, hopefully will keep us in line throughout the day.
Well, good morning, everybody, and let me just extend my welcome to all of you Delighted to see all of you here today. We're expecting a full house. I'm sure there'll be a few people wandering in, and we should have a very exciting program. So what I'm going to do today is I have the distinct honor of launching a new program for Genome BC. And it's not often that we're able to do this, and this is what this slide captures is this user partnership program in applied genomics. And what I'm going to do is to walk you through that. Before I do, I just want to say a couple things, though, before getting into the details. So this is a program that's been, I'll walk you through kind of the evolution of this program, but I want to really just start out by making some special thanks to members of Genome BC that have helped to create this program. And specifically Marcy McDonald, who has just played a very fundamental role in helping to craft this, to Gabe Kalman, to Suzanne Gill, to Alan Winter, and to the entire staff of Genome BC. I mean, everybody has really kicked in, and you're going to see this is quite an exciting and new approach to approach research at Genome BC. And lastly, to the board members. Our board, I'm delighted to see Alan Pelman here today, but also Ida Goodrow and other board members are going to be attending today. We have a really great board, and a board that really, in fact, does more than just see to the fiduciary responsibilities of the organization, but really takes an active interest and has helped in large part to really help craft this program. So with that, let me go through and walk you through this program. So Genome, this is a user-driven pull program. So this is a program that's really designed for the end user to tell us what they need and for us to see if we have a genomic fit for that. So you'll see here this slide mentions that we have 4 ongoing programs that focus on securing benefits, but none of these specifically enlist research teams to specifically target the needs of the sectors, what was defined by sectors. And other applied and translational programs engage users on the project team, but these programs are really more user research push than user pull. And so this is really looking at a user partnership program that's a pull program. You're familiar with the other 4 programs. I'm not going to go through this in detail, but we have a proof of concept program, we have a strategic opportunities fund for industry, we have a personalized medicine program, and an entrepreneurship education and genomics program. But again, none of these programs specifically invest in projects in which teams with unique capabilities in genomic research are enlisted to address unmet needs that are defined by the sectors. Again, that user pull, if you will. And this slide really breaks down and shows you the way we envision this program working in the community. At the top level, you can see that you have in fact, I think I must have a pointer here. Let's see if I can do this. Sorry. Okay, I need to go back a couple slides. Let's see. Let's go. Let's just go. I need to go back up a couple. Sorry. Yeah, there we go. Perfect. Okay. So at the top you can see that Genome BC sector strategy task forces, that what we're really trying to do is engage with our sectors, the sectors of economic importance, forestry, fisheries, environment, the health sector, and whatnot, and really to let these groups define, let this activity define what the needs are, or what the user demands are, and then you can see the genomic science capabilities all intersect then to really say, how does genomics help to address a sector need? Once that need is established, then what we see is there's now a user-driven research opportunity that's framed. And from that, you can see in the bottom triangle is the question is how does Genome BC facilitate translation of that? And you can see that that's going to involve sectors as collaborators and co-funders, but it's also going to involve our academic research teams, scientific advisors, and people with sector expertise. And that will ultimately emerge then to define the program. So this research is really targeted, as I said, towards the needs of our key economic sectors in BC that really drive the economy of BC. Their partnerships with sector users, and so one of the outcomes would be a partnership with sector users is strengthened in doing this. The end users or other receptors in industry and government are actively engaged in the development of research objectives. There's a direct connection between the receptors in these economic sectors of importance and new products or services derived from genomic technology. There's an approved adoption of new technology because the users are engaged in really predefining the issues. And there's a recognition by the users of the contribution that genomics research has made to their sector. And obviously this is of critical importance to the well-being of an organization like Genome BC. All these points are. The purpose of this program is, again, to support genomics-based research targeted towards the needs of sectors. And you can see that this could be done with industry or government, and it would encourage collaborations between research, between industry and academia. So it's really, again, it's focused on academic research, but in partnership with the end user community. It's a multi-phased approach, and I'm going to walk you through this. The timing of this, again, I'll walk you through in a bit more detail. So this slide then frames the way we see this project. I mean, we have two opportunities that are going to emerge from this. Small-scale projects and large-scale projects. The focus of the small scale would be to establish feasibility of whatever it is, and to attract increased follow-on user investment. I mean, if you're able to establish feasibility, and the end user's really helping to define the opportunity, then what should happen is as you go down that continuum to move to a translation of that work, the end user should become more engaged and more willing to fund it at a higher level. I mean, that's what happens naturally in industry. We see this as just an evolution taking place in this program. So the larger scale program then would be to support more mature projects and those with strong user interest and capacity to co-invest. You can see the total project sizes and budgets, about $200,000 to $400,000 in the small scale, with the projects being up to 18 months. Not longer than 18 months, I want to stress. I mean, we're really looking at a year, but we realize that research is research, and oftentimes there are unanticipated delays, but these are not 2-3 year projects. These are 1 year projects that could go to 18 months. The larger scale projects we see the same way. It's very much focused on a very specific answer, a question, and with methodology to address that question. So these, again, aren't multi-year, they're 2-year projects, up to 2 years. You can see the funding ratio in the small scale is 1-to-1. The co-funding ratio in the larger scale is 1-to-3 at a minimum. And again, with the size of the larger projects being $400,000 to $4 million, and with our contribution at Genome BC being maxed out at $1 million for those projects. So how would this application process work? So the user is engaged in a sector task force, for instance. I mean, we're actively, Gabe Kalman is actively addressing these sectors right now and bringing groups of people together, and they're going to be defining aspects of work in those that would really be an opportunity for genomics. And so that will happen at the highest level. Then what would happen is this user-driven research opportunity would be identified. In other words, that the folks in environment might be very interested in the particular presence or absence of a particular microbe in a bioremediation site, and there's a better way genomically to determine if that particular bug is present or not present using genomics. So that would be the opportunity identified. A statement of interest would be registered with Genome BC. That would be the first thing that would happen. A project concept would be developed with a user partner and a research team. So what we would do is actively engage you in trying to define who would be who could actually meet the needs of this end user. The terms for the partnership would be agreed upon by Genome BC and the user partner. And when I say the terms of this, in other words, we would be really talking about the co-funding and all the other aspects of this right up front with that user partner. A research and implementation plan would be put together and a funding decision would be made by Genome BC. Now, who would be eligible for this? Users in industry or government are really expected to drive the research objectives of this program. Now, it's important to point out that, if you look at the fisheries in BC, it's a government-controlled entity. If you look at forestry, 90% of the trees that are cut down are on Crown land. It's a government-controlled resource for BC and for Canada. So in many of the cases, we're going to be working with government or government labs in doing some of this work. So the funds will support collaborations with researchers from universities, our affiliated hospitals in BC, other research institutions, and that would include government labs, because we see this being a really fundamental aspect of what we're going to need to do for the success of the program. The projects must be based in genomics, but genomics is pretty broad, as anybody in this room can clearly say. And it would be targeted towards the needs of one of the sectors supported by Genome BC, and anticipated to result in benefits to BC. So the evaluation of these would be, the projects will be evaluated on the potential for anticipated outcomes to meet the needs of sectors, users, and result in benefit to BC, the active participation of industry or government partners or other users, and the market potential of this potential application, the competitive landscape, the intellectual property position, the overall strategy for implementation, the commercialization if it would be required, the expectations for uptake into policy or practice. In many cases, the genomic advances are going to result in policy changes, as opposed to, that is going to be the end goal for some of these research applications. And lastly, the feasibility of the plans for project schedule, management, financing, including the co-funding. So how will one apply for this? There'll be a two-step process. There'll be a statement of interest. There'll be registered at any time, so this is going to be a rolling process for Genome BC. And full applications will be done in collaboration with BC-based research institutions. The program guidelines are going to go up on the website today. The applications for the UPP program will be accepted in a rolling intake manner, as I've said. And the partnerships will also be reviewed for eligibility for Genome Canada's GAP program. And I'm going to introduce Cindy in a moment that's going to talk more about this program. And we'll look at the eligibility for that. And lastly, then, I'd just like to say that the program, your contact for this program at Genome BC will be Gabe Kalman and his team. And again, that'll be on the website. And we would very much encourage you if you, again, what we're going to be reaching out to is the industry. But clearly, if there are things in your discipline that you feel would be of use to industry, and when I say industry, it could be the Department it could be the Department of Fisheries and Oceans, and you're developing something that you believe would be of use to them. We would then reach out to the DFO, and we would have that discussion with DFO, and we would make a marriage then if it was to be. So Gabe will be the person that will be coordinating this. He's here today. Rachel Ritchie's also here today, and we'll be delighted to chat more with you about that. So with that, what I'd like to do is now introduce Cindy Bell, who's the Executive Vice President of Corporate Development at Genome Canada. So we're developing this program, and we're doing it though, again, as Alan Pelman said, we very much have a close collaboration on everything we do with Genome Canada. And Genome Canada is also setting up a program that has some that's very similar to this program, but yet has some distinct differences. And what we're going to be doing in terms of the rollout of this program is waiting until April to when we actually, when Genome Canada really is planning to announce their program. So we're going to be discussing things with people and getting people in line, but essentially when Genome Canada launches their program, this program will be formally put out there. And so with that, I'd like to just, Cindy has graciously come all the way from Ottawa. She's going to be talking about basic research from genomics to the genomics applied partnership program. And I just have to say, Cindy and I go way back. I mean, I was just thinking about this, Cindy. I mean, it's frightening. I never thought I'd be able to say that, you know, back when we were in graduate school, you know, 40 years ago. I mean, we knew one another. So I hate you for saying that, but it was a long time ago back in McGill. So we've known each other a long time, and I'm delighted that you are here today, Cindy. So thank you.